What is going on, everybody, and welcome to my review of Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise is the fifth installment in the Evil Dead franchise, excluding the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show, and honestly, this is just one of the most consistent in quality franchises in horror in general. Just out of all the horror franchises, Evil Dead might be the most consistent in terms of quality. I really enjoy all these films, and Evil Dead Rise is no different, but with that being said, let's get into the more in-depth thoughts on Evil Dead Rise. So starting out with what I think the film does really well, I just like the overall story that this goes for, and the story that it is telling. It is following this family that is in a high-rise apartment building, and they end up coming across the Necronomicon. One of the kids plays a tape, and that is how the evil is risen, I guess. I do like a lot of the characters that are introduced here. I mean, you have a decent amount of characterization that goes into them. I mean, you understand where each and every character is at within their personal life, which makes it a little bit easier to sympathize with them and really kind of put yourself in their place and see where they're at, because this family is already very emotionally vulnerable, and that just makes it all the more painful and a bit traumatizing when you get into the actual events of Deadites showing up and just fucking with everybody around them. Our main character, Beth, is a very interesting character. We find her on the road. She's a guitar technician. Relatable. She comes home to this family and pretty much immediately finds them in disarray. So it's very interesting to have that character come in. She's almost like a placeholder for the audience within the first 20 minutes of this film. And yeah, this film really does take its time in getting these events started, where, you know, the kids eventually come across the Necronomicon to when the evil actually shows up. I mean, every single Evil Dead movie is extremely fast-paced and just pretty much relentless from the beginning. This one was a little bit refreshing in that it kind of took its time building up to these events and really showing where these characters are at in terms of their personal life, like I said. So you really do get a chance to know these characters and see what their interests are and what type of family they are. And I really enjoyed that side of it, leading up to the crazy events that we get into towards the beginning of the second act. Performances all around the board are great here. I really enjoyed every single character and how they were portrayed by the actors that were playing them. I know it's always easy to take shots at, you know, kid actors, but I think all of them are great here. We have two teenage-ish characters and one very small kid, and I really loved the way that they were able to bring across the emotion of their characters to the audience. I mean, I bought everything. I bought their relationships, and I bought the way that they acted in these traumatic events, with the exception of one that I will get into later. Again, the two lead characters, you have Ellie, who is the mother of this family, who is newly single, separated with her significant other, and she is the catalyst for the evil in this film. She is the main demonic presence once she turns, and I really loved her performance in all of these scenes that require her to be very unsettling and unnerving as this demonic presence. I think she sold it so hard. Really enjoyed what they were able to do with her character, especially once she turned. As far as some technical aspects go, the camera work in this film is fucking awesome. It has so many callbacks to Sam Raimi's camera work from the original films, and I really appreciate that. There's also a ton of Evil Dead Easter eggs in this film, if you can spot them. I won't give any of them away. There's also a very, very subtle cameo here that I will not say anything else about, but when you catch it, you're gonna love it. But yeah, again, the camera work in this film kind of echoing Sam Raimi's camera work and his signature style. I really dug all of that. I thought it was badass. And of course, you cannot have an Evil Dead movie without talking about how fucking far they go with the blood and gore, which is something I always love. I always talk about gore on this channel because I love it in my horror, and this is no exception. This movie is bloody as fuck. It's pretty much on par with all the other Evil Dead films. I mean, they are all gory as hell, have so much blood, but this one ups it a bit in the third act, and yeah, it was pretty disgusting, and I really enjoyed what they were able to do with a lot of these gore sequences. Everything looks great, a good mix of practical effects as well as some CGI usage just to tie everything together, and this is what I really like seeing when it does come to horror. A practical base with CG to just enhance it, and I think they killed it here. Now, on the flip side, some of the stuff that did not work as well as I wish that it did for me, I have to start off by talking about the trailer to this movie. It is no secret that if you are in the horror community, everybody is a little bit cautious about watching trailers and the marketing for a specific film because it seems to be a trend, or it has been a trend for the last couple years, where you will get a trailer to this new horror film and it will just show you all the highlights of the film with nothing in between. That is somewhat the case here. Apart from a few events that happen in the third act, everything that is shown in the trailer is a big highlighted moment of this film. So unfortunately, up until you get to the third act, there are no real surprises, and you pretty much know what to expect. You also know when things are going to be coming out at you because you've seen it in the trailer already. You can gauge how long you've been watching the film, which act and where you're at in the film, and what hasn't happened yet. And I obviously understand that that is the case for any trailer that you see, but when it is showing those big highlighted moments that are supposed to be kind of spectacles and, you know, big set pieces, it's a little bit disappointing that there isn't more surprises. And I don't know if I'm gonna be alone on this. I mean, I've been watching Evil Dead films since I was a little kid, so maybe it's just me on this one, but this movie does not really feel like an Evil Dead movie to me. In terms of the gore and how far they go with how bloody things get, totally on point, on the fucking money with all the other Evil Dead films. But when it really comes to the usage of the Necronomicon, the, you know, incantations, and the Deadites themselves, these Deadites from the beginning have certain mannerisms to them that are very clearly set up and established, and this film feels a little bit more like a normal possession movie or even a zombie movie at times than it does an Evil Dead film to me. Again, just my opinion, just what I got out of the film. You guys might think differently, and that's totally cool. The biggest thing that was absent from this film, at least for me personally, was the psychological manipulation of the Deadites and what they are able to do with their powers. Obviously, we have scenes of, you know, kind of super strength, and, you know, the Deadites are able to levitate and things like that. However, they have this distinct ability in every other Evil Dead film to kind of revert back to their normal state where they look normal again. You know, once you get into the Deadite makeup, you know they've turned, but they are able to turn back to the way that their actor looks to psychologically manipulate these characters. And there's one scene in this film that is shown in the trailer where you have the main demonic presence, Elle, locked outside of the apartment, and you have the youngest daughter that is looking at her through the peephole, and she's saying all this stuff like, "Let me inside, I'm better now, you know, I'm back to normal, mommy's back to normal." She's staring at her the entire time, yet she looks like this. I don't care how close to you I am, I don't care how much I like you as a person, I don't care if you're my family, if you look like that, you're not coming in. I'm not unlocking the door for you. And the younger daughter does unlock the door, which leads to a little sequence where they have to get her away. And when it comes to those Deadite mannerisms that I've come to really know from years of watching these films, it just doesn't feel as set up as it does in the other films. Again, I might be on an island with that, but that's just what I got out of this personally. With that being said, I think the look of these Deadites are amazing. I love the look that they went for. I mean, it's very distinct and recognizable. Another thing I will say is I believe they went for more of a greenish contact color. Normally, I think you would see more white eyes, but that didn't bother me. I thought it was a pretty cool change and a very cool aesthetic that fits with this film. Getting into the Necronomicon usage, I thought it was cool how they found it. What I was not so much of a fan of is when you have the kid playing the vinyl record and eventually, summoning the evil, you find out that they talk about 3 chapters of the Necronomicon, of the Book of the Dead. There's 3 distinct chapters, and this is just one of them, or volumes, I guess. They have just found one of them that was locked away in this bank vault of, under this building in California. On the one hand, I like the ambiguity of that. I like when we have enough to, put the pieces together of how the Necronomicon got there and, what exactly is going on with that. Nobody said anything about 3 books.
Nobody said anything about 3 books.
And depending on whether you look at this as a continuation or an event that happens within the set universe of the other films, depending on how much you care about continuity, that might bug you a little bit. For me, I'm kind of indifferent to it. It's not a huge deal to me because I can more than 100% look at this as an Elseworld story where, this is just another event. Other people are finding the Necronomicon and it's happening to them. So again, doesn't really bother me too much, but also a little bit strange in my opinion. And finally, what I want to talk about is I'm kind of confused on whether or not we're going to get a follow-up to this. I know this film just came out, but with the ending, it was left a little bit ambiguous because without saying exactly what happens, the opening and ending of this film are bookended by the same event, which is a different event that have anything to do with the main family that we were following. So there is still an evil presence out there by the end, and I think that was done to leave room for sequels in the near future. With that being said, I really hope we do get a sequel to this film because even though I spent a fair amount of time on some of the stuff that I wish worked better, I think this is a kick-ass Evil Dead film. Again, really enjoy kind of the small-scale personal family story. I think all of the emotion came across. You really felt for these characters, and when you do get to know them a little bit better, it does make that all the more painful when you're seeing what's happening to this family that has already been torn apart. So I really enjoy that story and what they were able to do with that. But in regards to where it stands with the other films, it feels just a little bit more random. It would be like calling The Shallows Jaws 5. That's the best way I can explain it. Alright guys, with all of that being said, that is my review and thoughts on Evil Dead Rise. This is an easy 3.75 out of 5 for me. I really enjoyed this film and would really love a follow-up to it. Lee Cronin put his mark on the Evil Dead franchise, and I'm very happy that this film exists, and I'm very happy that I got to see it theatrically in theaters. Definitely go check this out if you are an Evil Dead fan. You are going to be very, very happy with this. Alright guys, that's it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you agree or disagree, drop a comment below. Let's talk about this film. I'm very excited to see where people stand on this. I've heard nothing but great things about this film, and I definitely agree with all of those positive reviews. So, like I said, drop a comment, let me know what you thought of this. If you like this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, keeps me motivated to make all this content for you guys, and if you are excited for anything I have going in the future, please stay tuned. We are going to have an Evil Dead ranking this Sunday, and I'm looking forward to it. So there you go. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys very soon in the future.